Hi, I'm Lynette Nylander.
And I'm Leah Chernikoff, and this is Harper's Bazaar's The Goodbye,
where we invite celebrities, designers, models, and tastemakers to talk shop. What they buy, where they got it, and why it matters.
Lynette, here we are in the City of Angels, enjoying the sunshine for a special Los Angeles edition of The Goodbye.
Yeah. It'll still be a place that completely eludes me. I don't think I'll ever be an LA girl, but it is nice to be here. The weather's great.
Yeah, the weather is nice.
You wake up and there's palm trees everywhere. And we went shopping. And we went to a fantastic store called Just One Eye, which is a multi-brand boutique concept store. They sell furniture. They have a salon in the back. They sell beautiful jewelry.
It's also like an art gallery. There's incredible artworks all through. I mean, it's a really beautiful store.
Yeah, super impressive. We met the manager, John Dolio, and he walked us through some of the collections. We went through the new collection of the Row that's causing controversy for its $2,000 cotton T-shirts, but they're really nice.
Pre-pilled.
The pre-pilled T-shirts, they'll probably be sold out by the time
for sure.
that this podcast comes out. I looked at a beautiful Yoji piece.
I know. You're still thinking about it, right?
I'm still thinking about it.
It was like a top and a skirt.
Yeah, paired, and the fabric kind of looked like it was burned through. In the landscape of clothing and the landscape of designer kind of brands, Yoshi's actually kind of affordable, and it was a beautiful sort of cardigan jacket hybrid with a kind of built-in scarf, which is really stunning, and a A-line kind of asymmetric, more asymmetric than A-line skirt. Mm-hmm. And that was really wonderful, so I've had my eye on that, but again, not just running, jumping the gun and going for it. And so what say you? What's your goodbye of the week?
My goodbye are these shorts. I'm wearing, I guess you might call them board shorts, Bermuda.
Yeah. Bermuda, capri. No, they're not capri.
I feel like capri is our type. Anyway, this is promising to be a season of big shorts. Like I'm seeing like big cargos around, big long jean shorts. Like that's a younger thing. I could never pull that off, but I admire it with like little kitten heels. But I liked the idea of trying it out. These are Tory, and I think the length is so important. So these hit just below the knee, so it sort of like accentuates the like smallest part of your leg. I think the concern is like, I'm not short, but I'm not tall at all. So I thought capri is like, that's not gonna be my thing. But these kind of flare out and like cut right below the knee.
What fabric are they?
And can you feel it? They're very sturdy. I would say it's like a wool.
It's like a
wool with like maybe a
wool or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're quite substantial.
Yeah. Anyway, I did not think this would be something I could work in and pull off, but I love like a trouser, and this is sort of like the seasonal version of that.
Moving on to this week's episode of The Goodbye, we're really excited because we have is our very first director.
Yeah.
Someone with a really kind of chic, put together, understated sense of style. She is somebody who thinks about fashion both on and off the screen. That's a big hint.
And I think, there aren't that many women behind the camera, and I think there is something really interesting about the way they dress to kind of assume that position of power. So I'm excited to learn from her how she kind of assumes that role and styles herself for it.
On this week's episode, we welcome director Gia Coppola. We have our very first director on the podcast, one whose most recent movie, The Last Showgirl, was received with critical acclaim. Her personal approach to dressing is classically put together with laid-back elegance. Think if Los Angeles and French Star had a baby, it would be our next guest.
She is part of a cinematic dynasty, but has forged a path entirely her own. And we can't wait to dissect how she uses style to tell stories both on the screen and in her own life.
Welcome to The Goodbye, Gia Coppola.
Thank you. We made it through.
We made it through. Hello. Hi. I'm really excited to talk about fashion and style with you because you're visually stimulated by the world, I guess, by being a director, and everything that you see becomes inspiration. So let's talk about fashion and when it first became something that you were interested in and inspired by?
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like very intimidated by fashion, and but I was raised around it so much. My mom was a costume designer, and I always remember like going to thrift stores and like putting like random stuff together. And then of course my aunt being in fashion. But yeah, my first memories of fashion were kind of really going to thrift stores, and I think I picked out like a plaid like Converse shoe, and my grandma was like, "Whoa, that's eccentric," and like she's such a minimalist. It's like, okay, I guess that's who I am, is a bit quirky.
I wanted to ask about being a director. There was this book, was it A24 that put it out?
How
About
directors dress.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
I've seen like the Instagram handle. It's
Yeah.
funny.
Oh, Director Fits.
Director Fits, yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to know, when you started directing, like, did you think about what you were wearing behind the camera? Did you think about a uniform, or what do you wear to feel powerful and comfortable?
There's this narrative of like, oh, I need to look professional when I go to like big meetings and things like that. And I don't know really what my viewpoint is on that, because sometimes I rebel and I'm like, I'm just going to be me, like take it or leave it. And I think that's sort of become my new approach, is like, I'm going to give you what it is that I want to make, and you can either join that bandwagon or not. Whereas before, I would really conform of like, I am capable, I can do
Pick
this.
me.
Yeah, pick me.
And now it's like, you would be lucky to.
No, totally.
And I think just that tone shifted, getting the things I actually do want, because I'm not trying to go after things that don't want me.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just have to say, as a kicker, like, that's nothing that men ever think about, like coming to a meeting and being professional. And
Yeah.
You gotta just do what
I'm this is like maybe a little cliched. I'm sure you've been asked it, but I do, there aren't as many women behind the camera directing. And so I did wonder if that like did affect how you dress maybe at some point earlier on, like, to be taken seriously. Do I have to look like I don't care because I'm a woman behind the camera and I've got a bunch of men in this room that I need to control?
Yeah, I mean, I think I also do this thing. I'm like, I was the youngest in my family, and so I can be like the little girl. And I think sometimes I felt like people would look at me like, why would I hire this little girl to do, she's not capable, and I feel like I have to prove, my point of view, my life experiences are fresh and new, and like that's why I should have the job. But I always felt like, oh, people are looking at me as though I'm childish and inexperienced, and I think that my own insecurity about that probably reflected back. And until, I don't know, probably motherhood, you just sort of are like, an experience of like, I know what I'm doing. We're all human beings. Like, we have different levels of experience and capabilities. So it's less about the exterior, and the interior will emote.
Yeah.
There's certain things like you kind of have to wear to be comfortable on set. Like you need to wear closed-toe shoes. Like you don't want anything falling on your feet. And sneakers, you're standing for a really long time. But I have kind of like a little bit of a uniform, I guess, where it's like, I love Vans. I wear Vans as my sneakers. I guess they're just easy to slip on. I think my dad used to wear them, so it reminds me of like connection to my family, perhaps. But yeah, Vans, slacks, sweater, hoodie.
Yeah, you have that kind of, we were obviously looking at pictures of your style. You have that kind of like 70s, like evergreen type of thing going on, I think. Like it's always on in a good way.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
I really don't feel fashionable, so it's like, it's funny to be on this podcast talking about what my fashion is, because I feel very lazy and I just take whatever, but...
Well, I appreciate that you said at the beginning of the podcast that, you feel intimidated by it, because I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to, is that, they can appreciate fashion shows or the Met Gala or see something on a celebrity, but they're like, that has no place in my everyday life. And I think it's great for you to just say that. Though I do want to speak about your red carpet and occasion wear because you've just come off of a press run for your most recent film, The Last Showgirl, and I saw that you wore a lot of Valentino, and obviously that's Alessandro Michele's new position after Gucci, and I know you guys have kind of an ongoing relationship at this point. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and why you kind of gravitate towards him?
I was invited to his very first Gucci show. Just getting to know him, he's just a lovely person and an artist. And I mean, all of those designers, the way they do their work is such an artistry and such a production. And it's like boggles my mind. Like, how can you produce so much inspiration all the time? But he would come over to my mom's house and we'd make pizza and just talk about like art and exhaustion and family and cooking and to kind of get to know someone in that personal level. And I think what he makes is just gorgeous. So anything that I could get my hands on, I feel like honored and privileged to get to wear that.
Let's talk about some of the other designers that you also like. I know you have a great relationship with Proenza Schouler. Jack and Lazaro obviously have now departed their brand and headed to Loewe, but I know you wear a lot of Proenza, Rodarte. Talk about why you kind of like those brands as well.
I guess because I've gotten to know the designers as people and just like jive with them, their personalities, have fun with them. The Rodarte girls love to go see blockbuster movies, and so it becomes a friendship, and in that I'm able to sort of ask, hey, do you mind if I can borrow this for this event, because that sort of circuit is just a non-stop thing, and to have access to just looking appropriate, but those clothes feel like they make me feel comfortable. I love the cuts of Proenza. They're sort of abstract, and I'm so curious to see what they do with Loewe.
Yeah. Who are some of your style inspirations? Because I watched an old video on YouTube of you this morning.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a fun video where you're I think you're on the cover of a magazine, and you were talking about everyone from Alexa Chung, which I can see, to Mark Gonzalez, the skater, which I loved that as a reference.
Yeah.
Who else?
I feel like lately it's been just like people on the street, my friends. Like I was on a job in Paris, and one of the PA girls on set was wearing these really cute, like sporty ballerina Zara flats with this pink gingham Comme des Garçons like floofy skirt, and it was like abstract and like kind of went up and down. And I was like, that is so cute. I need to rip off that look. And I literally was just like, but. So I'm not afraid to like copy things that I feel like I see and I'm inspired by my friends, what they wear.
Yeah.
It's always random too. Like it could be like, I don't know, some toddler wears something cool, and I'm like, why don't they make that for adults?
Toddlers have great style. It's very pure.
Yeah.
When my kids pick stuff out, I'm just like, wow, I would never think of that. It looks so good.
Yeah. How often do you get to shop?
I'm not a big shopper. I really don't enjoy it. I feel exhausted by it.
I love it. A shopping podcast. You're just like, no, thanks.
I like house stuff. Like when I work towards like getting things
Home
for my
things.
home.
Yeah.
But my mom, I think because she was a costume designer and we often work together, so I feel like I still get dressed by her.
Yeah.
Like she'll pull things for our jobs, and then I'm like, oh, I'll just take this home. Like, what can I? And she's like, you need to have this. And sometimes she gets things from like, this is probably not okay to reveal this, but we get things from like Universal Warehouse or like costume houses, and I'm like, oh my God, that piece is so good, you can't return it. But if we trade it for a few other things, then I get to keep this like awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
But that's like, you're sort of like raised in cinema, so it makes sense that these clothes are just kind of like filtering through still.
All the costumes for my movies I hold on to, and I think that comes from my mom of like, no, you're not wearing this now, but hold on to it. And I'm so glad like she held on to like all of her 90s pieces and early 2000 pieces, and I just wear that. Like I have these Balenciaga corduroy pants that I love that were hers from the 90s and like a Prada dress. Like she.
Yeah, what are the other gems?
Oh
I mean,
my
that
God.
must be so cool to have that be your. I mean, does that explain the intimidation? Or at all?
Yeah, because she was really like into fashion and all of that sort of stuff, and I think maybe it overwhelms me, and so I feel also maybe a little bit of like the teenage rebellion of like, oh,
that's your
not
thing.
me. Yeah, I don't care. I'll just
I have
be
other things going on.
yeah. But I
But
do
nice,
I do
nice
like
when you
clothes.
borrow the 90s clothes.
Yeah, it's like I rebel, but then I have such an appreciation and I admire it and I love it, but I get like lazy and don't know how to or overwhelmed in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I need someone to curate, and then I kind of gravitate.
It's important to keep, I mean, I'm not a director, I've never worked on a TV or a movie set, but I think it's so important to keep those things. Like I think about Sarah Jessica Parker wrote into the clause of Sex and the City that she could keep every outfit. And I'm just like,
Oh my
God, she can live
God.
off of, if she never worked again, she'd be fine. But if she really, really never worked again, I think like the posterity of that collection of clothing is something that
That's like a Met Gala in itself.
yeah, that's a Met Gala in and of itself. I mean, that influence on fashion and the way that modern women dress is incredible. But it's like, yeah, it's important. It tells the story, and people are endlessly fascinated, I think.
Yeah, and not to interrupt, but it is like that thing of like, how do you know what pieces to keep that you will be a wonderful time capsule later and be museum? I mean, they're investments in ways, you know, and I do believe in that. So certain things I hold on to knowing like this is going to mean, you know, this designer. My mom held on to some Tom Ford pieces of when he was at Gucci, or Tom Ford pieces of when he's from his era at Tom Ford. And like, how did she know which ones to hold? So it's just that takes a special eye.
And let's talk about your mother. She was the costume designer on The Last Showgirl, right?
Yeah.
Which was amazing. I mean, the costumes were basically a character in that movie.
Very much so.
And I read that you actually got Bob Mackey's Showgirl costumes for the film, which I'm like, anyone who works at BAZAAR knows I am obsessed with Bob Mackie. Yes.
Big obsession. Every time there's a pitch meeting, Lynette is just like, and what about Bob Mackie?
I think
I get it.
He's very important, and he's a reference for whether you know it or not. He's a reference for so much. You know, these pop girls wearing ensembles. You don't even without him. There's none of that. And so I do think he's really important. But let's talk about your approach to costuming in that movie, and how involved are you
with this? You know, I was like, I really want to just like make a movie and go. I don't want to wait around and keep it small and intimate. And here's this play that, you know, is doesn't have a lot of locations, doesn't have a lot of characters. But then my mom was like, but these costumes, you can't recreate these costumes. You have to have the actual showgirl costumes. And trying to find them was actually really hard because there's only like one woman in Rio that like has a bunch of them, and there's no, like, she has no organization whatsoever. And then there was the casinos that have it, and thankfully Dita Von Teese was like helping kind of archive and pay tribute to all of those costumes and the sets, because they're just like stuck in the casino. Getting to have access to that and realizing like, they're just museum pieces. They hadn't left the building in 30 years.
Wild.
And getting to like touch them, and their name, like certain dancers' names were still on the inside. It felt like just that spirit was part of our film. And I don't know, listening to the showgirls of that time and podcasts with Bob Mackie of that time, and just the level of production that went into those pieces, like we just don't do that anymore. Like millions of dollars went into just feathers alone.
Yeah, we don't make clothes like that anymore.
And that's why they're all still there in that condition, right? Because they were made so.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty durable. I mean, they're like 60 pounds sometimes.
They
It's
look
like,
heavy.
It's armor, and it's not designed to wear for like, you know, hours on end, which we were having these actors do. Like they go on for 20 minutes or less, and you know, dance and then get off stage and take it right off. But it was like magic getting to be with those pieces.
It's significant also. I didn't know the Dita Von Teese, like, that she helped do that. And I think that's so cool as someone who has kind of eternally beautiful.
Yeah.
I when I was younger, I was in awe of someone who was always on like that.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
never let a hair be out of place, never be without the Louboutin shoes,
the effort, it's
never be
amazing.
without the corsetry. I was just like, my God, this is just a commitment.
Tell us, what was the first thing you bought that you have a real memory attached to, where you feel like it represents some important time in your life, or made you feel like you had made it? Maybe it's a home thing or an art thing.
Well, I think for me it was a photo camera. It was like finally getting to splurge on like the nice camera that I really wanted. And it was the Contax T3. My aunt has that camera. Now it's super popular, like the Kardashians use it, and it's like you can't get that camera for like less than $5,000 probably.
Oh.
But yeah, it's a wonderful camera, but it's not the most durable.
Okay. You still have it then?
It broke, unfortunately. But I'm not very, talk about like Dita, who like is so poised and like put together, and I'm like gruff with all of my things, and yeah, didn't survive my messiness.
What was your regret buy, or what was a time in your style journey that you wish you could go back on and change?
I like went through a phase in my late 20s where I was sort of rebelling. Like I rebelled a little too late, and I like dyed my hair multicolors, and I think that phase was like going through a lot of crazy clashing thrift stuff. But I went for it, and I was having a great time in that era. I partied really hard, but it was good. I got it out of my system.
Okay, what did party Gia look like? What
I
did she
remember-
wear? And where were you going? Was this all in New York?
Frequently,
oh
where
my
were you
God.
going?
I had like
Yeah, let's do it.
I had like a bedazzled BB hat.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
like, and like Hollywood Boulevard. Like I was really into like all the tourists, like
Yeah.
Hollywood Boulevard, like pink jumpsuit. Like I just was like that sort of fashion was interesting to me.
Yeah.
So I think I was immersing myself in that kind of culture of like flip-flops, and I don't know what sequins. Yeah, and you know what? I think in
So maybe
terms
this
of
was a
showgirl,
foreshadowing.
yeah, like I still am a sucker for bedazzle and feathers. Like, I and even now I'm like, I don't know where I'm gonna go from here, because I just am gonna miss all of those feathers and sparkles. And that's the little girl in me. I love a sparkle.
Yeah, you love Las Vegas.
I do.
know that. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Because I went to Vegas once, and I don't think I could ever go back. It was 3 days of extreme fun, but it's very intense.
Yeah.
Why do you love it?
I think I'm very intrigued by like Americana, and I just am like, it is such an unusual city. What is it like to live there? I've always wanted to make a movie there, so I was so happy to have the chance to finally like get to live in Vegas and do like a creative endeavor. But I had a 8-month son baby with me at the time, so I was like, this isn't the version of Vegas I anticipated I was going to have.
Yeah,
but
that was meant to be Party Gia.
yeah.
Yeah. And you direct music videos also. Some of my most formative memories of fashion and style and come from music videos in the 90s and earlier. But like, were you that type of person? And what part does kind of fashion and music videos play for you? And
Yeah. I feel like music videos are really a space where you're not tied to any sort of continuity or narrative, so to speak. So you can really be as dreamy and like fantastical as you want. You can put as many different looks as you want. So that's really a space to kind of play in that regard. So it's fun to partner up with musicians who also have such distinct style and I did something with Gracie Abrams and playing with the different looks with her. And yeah, musicians are wonderful to work with in that way.
Gia, is there anything you dream of owning? What's your dream buy?
Oh, I would really love a Chanel purse.
I feel like that can happen. Let's not state the obvious that you and your family have a pretty good
family,
relationship with that brand. Do you own any Chanel bags?
I do not.
What?
A true goodbye shocker.
I know.
I would
Should
never
we
expect that.
text your aunt right now? She has to have hundreds.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, she has 2 daughters.
Yeah.
So
Are they
they're first in
dibs?
line.
Oh man.
There's a will for the bags.
Okay. Well, what kind? Let's.
I think I'd like a color one.
Yeah.
Frankie Rader had like a really cool like green one that
Yeah.
she would rock a lot.
Even a colorful one is a neutral when it comes because the shape is so classic. I have a couple and they're just always so fun.
Well, it makes an outfit.
Yeah.
And
does.
I think you can be like as sloppy as you want and you have a great bag and it makes you look fashionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why-
It's true. A t-shirt and jeans and then a Chanel bag and it's good to go.
Why have you never gone? Let's do it.
I know.
Let's go for it.
I know. Can we
Those
motivate
things are
you?
like, what, 40 grand?
No, they're not 40. They're like a very.
4.
They've gone up.
have.
They're trending upwards.
Well, how big are we talking?
I mean, not one where I can actually like fit.
Medium. A medium clap,
Not
like a
the-
medium flap. Like, they've definitely said with all the love in the world, Chanel can charge what they want. They are canon at this point, but they have definitely significantly raised in price. But they're not 40. They are. You could get one for 5 if you wanted one new.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, but then I'm like, oh, some plumbing breaks in the house.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's
Every
like,
house thing is $5,000.
Yeah.
No matter what
So
happens.
it's like, right when you think you're reaching your goal, you're like, it has to go towards something I don't want to pay for.
Oh, I think you have to like promise to yourself next movie when it wraps, do you get yourself a gift and it's the bag? Like
I'm really,
you're practical.
my relationship with money is I've always feel, I don't know. I always feel stressed.
Yeah.
And I don't, every once in a while I'll splurge, but it'll be like, oh, I'll get like a facial or, and to get like something like that, my husband is good. I'm always like, make him.
Right. Can somebody text him his podcast?
He got me this beautiful Cartier bracelet for when we
lovely.
wrapped the movie.
Can I see?
Yeah, this
Yeah, beautiful and delicate. And what kind of stone is that?
that's a diamond.
Diamond. I love that.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Gia, what is your latest goodbye? What is something you recently acquired that you love and you want to tell the world about?
Well, I was just in this job in Paris. What did I get there? I have like mom brain, so I'm like,
No, I get it. My brain is a sieve.
but like the things that I get excited about, I also don't get for myself. Like it makes me really excited to get presents for everyone else. So I went to university.
Bully?
Bully, yeah.
Yeah.
And all these teenage girls were in line. I'm
Yes,
like, why
they
were they
line
all
up.
there?
Yeah.
I know.
And it was, I guess, because it was Taylor Swift went there and got the
Lip balm
lip
with
balm
the-
with the
monogram it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, the teenagers know. Like, go follow them wherever they line up. But I got like my grandfather a comb with his name. I call him Dada. So it was his birthday, so I got that. And
Yeah.
Very sweet.
I never know what to get him, so that he was excited
Yeah,
by
that
that.
feels like an intimidating person to gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got like the little Charvet cufflinks for my uncle's birthday. Like this time of the year is like all my family's birthday. So
Yeah.
like
Taurus season.
Taurus season. So I got a bunch of stuff for like little things.
Those are all
yeah,
good.
little
Those
souvenirs.
Yeah,
Those
and
are
Charvet
great
cufflinks
ones.
are great.
Charvet cufflinks, like forever.
Yeah, but how cool is that? It's like such an old store, and like
Yeah.
that's what teenagers are appreciating. I'll give kudos to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, again, it's the range.
Yeah.
Gia, thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being a guest on The Goodbye. I love your approach to your slower, more considered approach to shopping, but a shopper nonetheless. I can see it in you. And I think it's going to grow. And I think your home stuff is like, come back and tell us, we'll do a home edition and you can tell us what you bought there.
Yeah, I need to figure out like how do you balance like splurging for yourself so you can get that Chanel bag and getting through life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or when you're plumbing.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
your plumbing breaks.
And we live in hope for that Chanel bag. Guys, this was Harper's Bazaar's The Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Yay.